to getting there, where we're always surviving, we're sometimes thriving, and we're just trying our best to make it. I'm Shelby. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Deanna.
And this podcast is being produced through Loyola University Chicago's Her Campus chapter. We're here to talk about all the things that are scary and crazy and exciting and interesting and weird and honest about being a young woman on the edge of a huge transition. And we're just trying to get there.
And as usual, it's us, your girls, and your
Ya
girls
girls.
need a song rec every week.
Yes.
So we will be giving you guys a song or podcast recommendation, and we've been hyping up our song recs. We haven't talked about what they are, why we're so excited for them, but would you like to go first?
Absolutely. I texted Deanna. What day did I text you? It was last week.
Yeah, it was in the past. It's been in the past. It was a while ago.
History. And I was like, I have next week's song rec ready for myself. I've been listening to it on repeat. I want to preface this by saying no tea, no shade. I just don't usually listen to Haim. Haim? How do you
Haim. I think it's Haim.
Haim?
Haim.
I just I've never listened to them ever.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And I guess I should because I have not stopped listening to their new song, Now I'm In It.
Oh, yes. I actually listened to that one. It came across my,
yes.
Was it my Spotify thing? Probably.
Yes. Well, as some of you know, I host a radio show on Wednesdays, and the last song of the show is always really important to me. I love ending on a really good song. And so last week I had to end it on Now I'm In It because it's so good. And I'm not going off brand, even though this is a more upbeat poppy song. Because it's still sad.
Sticking with the whole depression theme. I like that for you. I truly do.
Still sticking. I am nothing but not consistent.
I'm glad you had this going
Thank
for
you.
you.
Thank
Definitely.
you. It's all about thinking that you're good, thinking that everything is all right, and then kind of realizing that you're not. Maybe the lyrics are all I said I would. This time I said I would do it right. Said I would never break this promise, and I'm back to counting on us. We can't be friends. We can't pretend that it makes sense. And it's now I'm in it. I've been trying to find my way back to myself. I've been trying to get back to normal. But in this moment right now, I'm failing and it hurts. That's what it's about. Yeah.
Oh, struck a chord. See, those synthy poppy songs, I almost never listen to the lyrics because either one, I can't understand what it is, a very indie alternative thing, of me to say. Or just I'm too busy enjoying the song to stick the lyrics. And I feel a lot of, what him, if you will, does is, it's that. I'll listen to the song rather than the lyrics. So
yeah.
What is looking out?
What is your song this week?
So I changed mine based off of the conversation that we just had before the podcast. Shelby and I have been sitting on my couch for 2 hours just talking about all of the things that have been going on in our lives.
We haven't seen each other for a good 5 days.
Yeah,
so
that's a lot for us. We usually see each other every other day, every day, whatever.
Yeah.
We've just been super busy, and so we've been catching up and literally just divulged all of my emotional hurt onto you before this. So I'm I had to change my song. The other one was too upbeat. So
well, as I mentioned about 2 hours ago, we're feeling a little raw.
Yeah.
Emotionally raw.
I hate the word choice, but
I said that.
Shelby comes up to me, she's like, I came home in the day a little raw. And
Gianna just stared at me.
I'm did you use body scrub? And you're just ouch, a couple other things.
No,
but...
emotionally raw.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we're feeling a little emotionally raw right now. I think you can maybe tell it in our voices. We're just both on the verge of tears. So my song rec is Jupiter by Donna Mizal. Someone tell me if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is the only song that I know from her. I found this song, as I find most of my music, literally... No, I lied. I found this song on Facebook. Do you ever get random music videos on your Facebook feed? Sponsored ads from Apple. They're sponsored ads from Apple.
I don't go on my Facebook feed, so...
That makes sense, yeah. I always get song recs from Apple on my feed because I like their page once on a blue moon. And that's where I discovered Are You Bored Yet by Cairo and actually a bunch of songs I find off of Facebook. So this was another one. And it's just another haunting kind of synthy indie-ish kind of jam that is all I listen to. And it's all about oh gosh, let me pull up these lyrics, but it's all about you've been waiting so long to feel this way. You just really want to be in love, and you think you may have found it with someone, and you're just I'm ready. I want to be in love. And it's beautiful and it's so good. And y'all should listen. If any song recs, you guys are going to grasp onto, it should be this song. Putting that out there. Very good
I'm
one.
so excited to listen to it. I listened to it on my walk back home tonight.
Please walk safe.
I'm just kidding. I'm going to take a late ride.
Good. Good.
It's way too cold outside.
Listen to it in late ride. It's freezing.
It's cold.
Yeah.
And what rhymes with cold? Kindness.
I think the fact that your voice crack matches that real ragged transition. But you know what? I don't want you to edit that out.
That's staying.
That's staying. You know what? Tomorrow's World Kindness Day, is it not, Shelby?
Who said that? Who told us? Did we ever fact check that? Okay, well. What is World Kindness Day?
No, Wednesday, November 13th.
Okay, we're good.
Fact checked.
Now that those bases are covered.
Tomorrow's World Kindness Day.
In case y'all didn't know.
We almost did it, so...
November 13th, if you're listening to this after it comes out, we have some thoughts. Kindness is a word that carries a lot of connotations as a person in general, but as a young woman, it's got some more loaded connotations. And we would just like to preface this by saying that we realize that there are other connotations that come with being a woman of color, being a Black woman, being a Latina woman, Native American, whatever. That is a separate battle in and of itself, and we can't speak to that truth. So we recognize it, we point it out, we see it, but we're going to talk more broadly about like being women in general.
Being kind, what kindness means to women and women in general. So
exactly.
We have a lot of things.
Let's just dive right in.
But there's also like a couple different aspects that I wanted to hit on. Like, how do you perceive yourself, like 5 years ago, before college? Like, I like to think of like most people as kind of like soft and naive, and like, how has life kind of changed you? Like, do you think you've grown in kindness? Do you think you've become kind of a you-know-what? Like, or just, I like experiencing people's journeys and like how they've come to realize, the person that they are now and how that person is fully realized. So let's dive in. Do you want to start? Yeah. Yes, I do. So, one thing that I see a lot of, and like there's all these memes on Twitter about it, or like tweets or whatever, it's about like how people are like, I enjoy people that like don't let the world take away their softness, like stay soft no matter what. And like, I don't know how I think about all of that. I don't know about all of that, Chief. But I mean, obviously, as time has gone on, like, I think I'm at a really comfortable place right now with, the way I act towards others. And like, there's a whole backstory in and of that itself. But there was like a big period of time, and I think this had a lot to do with, my almost infatuation with social media and like, my experience in middle school, high school, whatever. There was a period of time where like, I thought being mean was cool. Like, I thought that was, that was the way to popularity. That was the way to like, behave. And like I said, I think a lot of that has to do with my experience growing up, because I came from a very stereotypical cliquey high school, and like, no matter what friend group you were in, no matter like, where you kind of stood, everyone was kind of mean. Yeah. Everyone was kind of mean in a different way. And I was not popular by any means. And I think that like, that had an effect on how I treated other people, because I would treat people the way they treated me. So it took me, I've always had a problem with like, mending bridges. I would let my pride get in the way of things. I just really struggled with the whole concept of kindness, regardless of who it is, really up until like sophomore, junior year. And like, that's when I kind of got a slap in the face, because, something happened, and I was like, there's no way I can continue acting the way I do, treating other people the way that I do. And like, it has been such a huge turnaround on the way that I interact with the world. And I'm like, I'm being very vague about all of this, I know, but there's, some things I want to keep private.
Yeah, exactly.
but I feel that I'm finally comfortable enough with myself to be kind to others. And I hate that it took me this long. You know what I mean? I'm gonna end on that note. I think
Well,
that was a winding road, but
I would say that you're one of the kindest people I've met. You know, like it's not even just, you're also very welcoming to people, and I think that goes hand in hand with each other. They're not super separable, even though they are two different things. But yeah, you should know that it doesn't go unnoticed how nice you are to everybody you meet.
Well, that's really validating to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I've always been a friend to others because more often than not, people weren't friends to me. So like, I think that's always something I tried really hard to do. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a road. I've been called some mean things. So we're here now. What about you?
I guess when you talk about like a 5-year journey, or just like a look back and how do you think you've changed, the thing that came to my mind first was how kind I am to myself.
I wish that was it. Dang.
I don't think I'm good at it yet,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think I've come a long ways. I specifically think about in high school, and it was genuinely funny to me at the time. But myself and I was on debate, and we spent all day every day together because all of us on the team were also, we'd all done theater together since we were like 8 years old, and like still did it in high school together. And a lot of us, we were all in like show choir together and band together, and we just did every single activity together. So I was with my team constantly, and it was kind of always a running joke that like we would point to a trash can and be like, "Ha, Shelby." That kind of like, you know what I mean? Or just like,
it's like self-deprecating humor.
Exactly, like super. I remember it really stuck with me when I was a freshman in college, and one of the seniors still in high school that was on my team sent out a group snap that was like, "I am currently the Shelby," in parentheses, "the total mess of the senior class this year." And everybody just kind of like laughed at it. And I laughed at it too. But I made a conscious effort starting Thanksgiving break of my sophomore year of college. I kind of started realizing that I needed to stop making such deprecating humor in that way. Like, I think it's still funny in different ways. Like, I think there are ways to make jokes about yourself and at your own expense that are still kind to yourself.
Definitely.
And I also had to stop. I just made like a conscious decision. I no longer say jokes like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm so tired, like kill me," or like for a lot of reasons. But and I think along a huge, long, very multi-layered, multifaceted journey of being kinder to myself, that's been a huge plus, is not accepting those kinds of jokes from others or myself anymore.
Yeah. You can't see me, but I'm snapping. Like, love that. And like, I think more often than not, like, the way you treat others is often a reflection of how you treat yourself. And so I think you really just got to the root of a lot of problems that can come about here, is just like, how do you talk to yourself? What do the voices in your head sound like when you talk to yourself? Like, if you're not hearing good things, how are you going to project that out into the world?
Exactly. And it seems like so naive to be like, stop thinking bad jokes about yourself and suddenly you'll be in love with who you are.
It's easy.
Yeah, and it's not.
It's not.
But I was surprised by what such a small change, for me personally, this might not be the same for everybody, but for me, like, what a small change, and it made such a huge difference in my own, and of course I didn't see it right away, but it was only like months later, like looking back, I realized how much better I treated my own self.
Yeah, definitely.
But when it comes to being kind to others, we did want to talk about how it can be really hard as a young woman. This has happened so many times where kindness is perceived as flirting. And it's such a hard thing to reconcile with.
Like, oh gosh. And so I'm just thinking back to like all the times, like in childhood, totally inconsequential, like, you're roughhousing in like kindergarten or something, like, and it's mostly like, you know, I was always told to like tone it down, like be nicer, like no, like be nice, give him a hug, like it's okay. Very much that, and I think, you know, that follows you into adulthood, and so, you know, hopefully your default is to, you know, be nice to someone that you meet, you know, at an event, at a party, at a get together, you know, just to be nice, and it 80% of the time, personally, gets misconstrued for like, oh, I'm interested in you.
Yes.
I'm just being a simple, kind human, not interested, not even in the slightest looking at you that way. Just met you, but
and I wonder what that says about the fact that like someone being kind to you, someone else can perceive as flirting. Like I wonder what that says about
like society as a whole. Maybe this is like a deeper conversation that we need to have.
I wonder also, at first I was going to equate it to like, what does it say about men and entitlement? But I really, truly, if I'm being honest myself, like, it's not hard for a guy to be super kind to me and for me to be like,
oh my gosh, 100%.
Oh my gosh, like, whoa, was that just, whoa, like.
Is it interested? Yeah, and like that's why there's always like the one guy who's seen as a flirt, but he's just super nice, and all the girls like him because he's super nice. So I think it is more of a societal issue. You know,
and I wonder,
we're not often like showing kindness to strangers.
That's that's what we gotta change.
Oh my god,
it starts today.
Yeah, but like, you know, in the same breath as, you know, being kind, being a woman, the expectation of kindness. You know what I mean? Like
the expectation is you're gonna be kind.
You're gonna be kind. Like you can't have a bad day. You can't be feeling off. Like, you know, if you act, you know, you're not feeling well that day, you're, you know, you're a little flustered, whatever it may be, you can be labeled a certain word very quickly.
Exactly. And sometimes I have to remind myself, even if I am.
I just don't want to cough. I gotta cough.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious.
I tried my hardest.
Oh my gosh, I love that. No, no, please don't be sorry.
Okay.
Where was I?
Expectations. Can't have a bad day. Label the B word.
Yes. Sometimes I have to remind myself that even if I am having a bad day, it doesn't mean I can't still be kind to people. But I know exactly what you're saying. If you're not especially over the top and nice, sometimes people are like, "Wow."
You're like even like, excuse me.
Yeah.
This is like the stupidest thing. Like, I always make it a point to say like thank you to a bus driver.
Yes.
You know, like something's like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna say stupid, but like something as insignificant as that. But like the other day, I had just a crappy day. Like so much work to do. Like emotionally drained. And I like didn't say thank you to the shuttle driver. I just like kind of got off in a huff, and I was like, that was so mean. Oh my god, they're gonna think I'm so mean. And just like it's just the fact that was my like biggest regret of the day. Like, where did that, you know, expectation come from? I don't know.
Yeah. Did you ever work customer service?
Yes.
I think that's what. No, I think that's what does it. I think like from someone who worked at Walmart for 4 years, if your entire day for however long you're working there is dependent on you being kind to every single person you meet in the face of oftentimes a lot of not so kindness coming back to you. I think not only is it good, like it teaches you how to be kind in the face of adversity or rudeness. But then when you're on the other side, you want to be extra kind to people customer service positions.
Yeah, even like 2 instances when like me and my friends would go out, like when we go out to eat or something, I will stack the plates, put all of our napkins on top of the plates, put back the ketchup and like everything. Like I will try my hardest to make their job easier because it's like I worked like retail for like 4 or 5 years like total at a couple of different places, and just like there's no reason for you to like not hang up the clothes in the dressing room or like something like that. So like I would always do that just to try to help out. And I remember when I was working as a stylist at Ann Taylor, most of the customers coming in were like older women that, you know, didn't need to have a job and they would just kind of shop around. And that was like our demographic, and like we knew that. And more often than not, more often than not, they were kind. They were, grandmotherly, very kind. But it just took one person, you know, to say something. I know, like, maybe they're having a bad day, but, like, they would say something, do something. That one instance would, like, wipe out all the niceness and kindness that I had experienced throughout the day. So I think that, makes me extra aware of, like, what I do and how I act.
Yeah. And I think that when you're so aware, like as a woman, you're either like, oh, I don't want to be super kind because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to come off as I'm flirting. I don't want to come off. I don't want people to take advantage of me. I think it's easy for
Big, yeah.
people to look at a kind woman and think, well, she doesn't know what she's doing, or she's stupid, or
Yeah.
she's not a leader or a capable worker. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
all these things that come with being too kind. And then there's also, you can't not be kind. You can't afford to not be kind as a woman in a workplace
Oh, yes, of course.
because even if you're acting very neutral,
Mm-hmm.
you get that immediate label of being. Uh, it's so hard not to say it.
We can swear on this podcast. I don't know why we can't. We're 22 years old.
You are.
I am. You're close. No, you're not, but you'll get there.
But yeah, fine. You can be labeled as a bitch, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so degrading and demeaning to see your male counterparts get praised for that
Mm-hmm.
behavior.
Yeah. I will. Oh my gosh. This, like, really woke me up as to what being a male in the workplace could be. And, like, so I mentioned this before. My dad, worked in a corporate setting for his entire career, 36 years at the same company. Like, he did very well for himself. He was, like, VP of international sales, like, big thing. And he would do, like, a lot of conference calls from home, and, like, it would be like him and, like, other, male authoritative figures in the company chatting. And, like, the way that they would talk to each other, because, like, sometimes he'd have his partner person on speakerphone. Oh my gosh, just like, and it's like just like profanities out the window, and, like, I could never picture myself, like, acting like that in the workplace. I could never see, like, a woman acting like that in the workplace and, like, that being acceptable. And that could perhaps be my, me being ignorant, me not knowing, what it is like to be, like, a woman in an executive position somewhere. But I just don't think that would fly. I don't think that would fly at all. And, like, I need to put this out there because I'm like, oh, like, but, like, my dad is the most, like, he handled, like, hiring people in the company for the longest time. And, like,
Yeah.
since he had 2 daughters himself, like, he would always be the one to be, like, kind of set
Right.
that straight. So, love you, Dad. Just gotta put that out there. But just, like, I can never picture a woman speaking the way that they did so
Right.
casually without care that they would be, they'd be taken for something else.
Exactly. I think the first time that I had that realization, like I mentioned, I was in debate and we competed every single weekend for years. And I was on a team. My partner was a boy. And boy-girl partnerships they were pretty common, like,
Yeah.
whatever. A lot of boy-boy partnerships. Not a lot of 2 girls as debate partners. And I remember we would walk into rounds and I would always find myself being like, oh my gosh, she's so rude. She's so mean with the way that the girls in the rounds would talk. And even though their boy partners would talk the exact same way, and it would just kind of go over my head. And I think it was all internalized from everything you've seen over the years. But looking back, even my coaches, like, we would go into rounds, big rounds, and my head coach would pull my partner and I aside, and his pep talk to us would be about how I had to talk differently than how my partner Brett talked. Brett could be the dominant, smart, intelligent, aggressive person talking on our team, and then he would turn to me and say, Shelby, you have to talk pretty, you have to talk smooth,
I hope you're kidding.
Oh, no, no, no. No, not at all. And I totally accepted that. I was like, yep, Brett's role is to be the smart, aggressive one that can clap back all the time and give sassy responses and cross-ex. And my role is to be put together and poised and smart and professional and stand my ground, but never be sassy.
Oh
And
my
it's such a
god.
little thing, but
That sticks with you.
it
Because
took,
that's like junior
yeah,
formative years. That
it,
was high school.
exactly. And it was a male coach that I had at the
Mm.
time a lot of respect for.
Mm.
And that was so, and like I said, that wasn't the only factor of why, but that really contributed to me projecting those ideas onto the other girls that I would meet in debate.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And that's something now that I actively have to fight against in my broadcasting classes or
Yeah, definitely.
whatever it is.
See, I feel like I think I have the bit of like the opposite going on. I think, this could probably tie in and like, I think I took a lot of how I interact with other people from my dad. Like I definitely get my social, like everything from my dad. He's very boisterous, swears a lot, just like a big old happy Italian guy. And like, I think I kind of took that on. And so a lot of the times when I like, I'm talking to someone like another girl and they're a little softer spoken or like whatever, I'm always like, what's wrong with you? Like it's something, and wow, you're just fitting it all together for me. But like, I think the way that I interact with others and how I speak with others, I'm like, I know I interrupt a lot. I know I, over talk over people. I get angry when people try to interrupt me. And I think that I got that from my dad. And so I see the opposite from that. And I'm like, you need to speak up. Like, why don't you just speak up? But I know it's not. Like, there's a middle ground somewhere. And it's just really interesting to see the other side of that.
It's so hard to find that middle ground, but it's so interesting how finding that is so intricate and vital to so many women in the workplace.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that also comes from the amount of talks that I this whole podcast is gonna be about my dad because like
shout out
Sal. But like growing up, to both me and my sister, because he sees it firsthand in like the workplace. He's like, you guys are gonna have a harder time than like I would. So like when we were speaking or something, he would always like kind of force us to be a little bit louder, a little bit more forward. And in some ways that has did me dirty a little bit. And I think in most situations it's helped because a lot of people say they get super nervous in interviews or they, when it's like a serious conversation, they can't perform, they get nervous or like, they'll stutter. And like, while I still have troubles like public speaking, in an interview, I am the most like cocky, confident, like bitchy person, but like it's worked every time. Because I think I oftentimes will start speaking with the male person interviewing me. Because sometimes I get paired like, with two people interviewing you. The male interviewer will start talking to me like more because they get a sense of like, how I'm speaking. Which is really messed up the more that you think about it.
Much to consider.
A lot to consider. And like I never gave thought to any of this before. I didn't even think this was what the podcast was going to be about. But I think just the fact that I had such a heavy male influence with like my social skills has kind of set me up for that.
Yeah.
And this probably was a contributing factor to like maybe my mean streak a little bit.
Oh.
No, I'm not. I don't want to say that part.
Bye.
I don't think so. Yeah, bye. I don't think so.
I take it back.
I take it back.
It's so interesting. It's like being kind is such a state of being. It's obviously a lifestyle that, in my humblest of opinions, we should all be living. I call it a hot take. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's very normal thing to ask of people and ask for people.
I think it's like super situational though, because like I don't think you should be kind all the time. I think you can get taken advantage of a lot. And I think maybe that's just my negative view on the world, perhaps.
That is a good point. I think maybe my way to look at it is go into every situation that you either, unless you know that someone does not deserve your kindness or your respect.
Doesn't everyone deserve your kindness and respect?
I don't know. We gotta flesh this out. Let's flesh this out.
This is I think this gets into, like, super deep tones. This gets into more, like, philosophical and ethical quandaries, if you will. So.
Well, maybe that can be the point, too, is that you can treat every single person with kindness, full stop. And so even if there's a situation where you're going to get taken advantage of if you do, I think there are ways to shut that person down in a kind way.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we want to include this or not, so I'm just going to put this in as a pause. But I have this story that I've never forgotten. So I went to CCD growing up because I got confirmed in a Roman Catholic household. And one of the things that we had to do was go on this, like, cute little trip. It was like a 2-day thing. Or no, it was just like a one all-day thing at, like, some really pretty church somewhere in Illinois. I don't really remember. But there was all these exercises that we had to do. And so I remember all the CCD people were like, it was like a couple schools all in one room. And this priest was running this event. And he was like, all right, so, you know, like, the Bible preaches forgiveness and kindness. So, say someone killed your parents. Would you be kind to that person? Would you forgive them? Walk to that side of the room if you would. And I stayed put. I did not move. And, like, I want to say half the class went to the other side of the room. And I was just like, no. And I remember the priest, like, trying to, because I think that was less people than he thought would move.
Right.
So he tried to, like, he's like, well, you know, it says in the Bible that everyone deserves kindness and respect and, like, all this. And, like, I remember him trying to, like, justify it in my head. I'm like, full stop, no. You know? So, I don't know if you want to include that, but that's just like, a little, that's a memory that I have. I was just, like, appalled almost.
No, literally, as you were saying that, I was starting to think back on my own statement, and I was like, you know, like, do I want to be, and I mean, yeah, politically, do I want to be kind to somebody that I think is not kind to a lot of people? Do I want to be kind to someone who supports an administration that is putting babies in cages and discriminating against people? And it's, Mayhaps we did stumble a little bit into something we weren't ready for.
We're not claiming to have all the answers. We're not claiming
to
have
any answers.
This is a podcast.
Well, and, like, that's, I think, part of this whole thing is we're talking about being on the cusp of a transition. What's weird and crazy about it, and what's weird and crazy about trying to navigate a young woman, like, her place in not only the workplace but the world, and how people expect you to be kind or don't expect you to be kind. And should you not? And so far I've changed opinions 7 times in the last 10 minutes. So it, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think I hate that I'm coming to this, but I'm like, it's situational. Like, it really just is situational. Like, it's a mixture of how you were raised, your experiences, you know, are you living life as, like, you know, a woman of color?
Right.
Are you experiencing life, you know, differently than other people? I think that all has a say in how you go about this subject.
Like, yeah. So, as always, I know less than I think I do.
Yeah, as always, who knows?
But that's kind of, like, the cool part, I think, is talking this out. I don't really have a lot of conversations like this, and I never really get to sit down and flesh out, like, what does kindness mean to me?
Yeah. Like, what is the definition of kindness? And there's probably some philosopher that we could look up and
we're not gonna
debate conflicting theories, but that's not what this podcast is.
No. I think the one I am gonna stand by this. I think. I say now. I might change. But no, I'm gonna stand by it. I might
agree.
The one thing that the one person you should always be kind to is yourself.
Yeah.
And that's
definitely agree.
That's something that, full stop, you deserve your respect, and your own love. And I think I've said this before, but the motto that I've really been trying to live by this year is just to collect all of the good things and move forward. And I think that's a way that you can be really kind to yourself, is filling yourself with the good things and constantly just collecting them in the midst of bad, because it's not about shuffling off and trying to avoid the bad. It's just in the midst of it collecting the good things.
I think that's one thing that I can also full stop get on board with. We
wow.
full stopped a couple times, but like
I think
this
4.
is the fullest of stop.
5, wow. Wow.
Keep it going. No, I agree.
Yeah, take a shot every time we say full stop. I will say to end, no matter what your opinion is on this and if you think this is good or not, people will remember if you're kind. So
big snaps to that.
If it is appropriate in the situation, if the person really does deserve this, kindness is such an easy it's not always easy, but it's such a good gift to give somebody.
I don't think you'll ever regret being kind.
Right.
Unless there's some situation I can't think of, but I don't think you'll ever regret being kind. And I'm super thankful that like we're both on a better path to kindness than we were before. Yeah. Finger guns.
What a good finger guns. And now, after such a lovely quote, this is when we usually talk about what we're going to talk about next week, but we're just kind of flying.
Yeah, we're rolling the punches. It's almost final season.
We're letting
tired.
The wind blow us where it may.
Please
do. We'll see what happens next Tuesday. Honestly, join us.
Definitely join us. I think that we should, two legal gals one day, get a drink, put one topic on our little doc. Right. And then just go from there. I think that could be super fun. Yeah. That could be like a little special perhaps one day. But who knows if we're going to do that next week? We probably won't. But thank you guys so much for listening and putting up with our ramblings, our stories.
Tell us what your thoughts are on kindness and what you're thinking. You can find us at Her Campus LUC on Twitter and come let us know your thoughts.
And also check out the Getting There hashtag on hercampus.com, and that'll pop up all of the articles with links to all the rest of the podcasts. One more time, shout out Sailor Sponty, I love you. That's my dad. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope that you stick with us, and hopefully you'll be there when we get there.
Bye. Bye.